Do. It says we're live, so we probably are, but my computer's still learning, so I'm going to look, try it out in the group, have a check, and hopefully we should be live, ready to go. And people aren't just listening to me talk crap for a little bit. We're live, yes. I love it when technology works. It's always good. Cool. All right, just going to put the comments up. Awesome. Cheers everyone for joining us. A few people have turned up now, which is always great. That's always a good start. Me and Tim is here again. We're not going to be as long as we normally are on our kind of little chats and talks, which sometimes go on for way too long. We're all known to go on for maybe an hour plus. We'll try and keep this relatively short, around sort of 30 to 40 minutes. But this is all about you guys and about some training that Tim has put together that he really wants to show you. I think you're going to find really, really useful. So most of this is going to be Tim chatting with you. And yeah, with that said, let's just do you want to introduce yourself, Tim, again, and then we'll kick things off.
Yeah, cool. I'm Tim Drummond. So I've been Fit Pro for about 10 years now, and I think around 3 years in, I just remember getting bored out of my mind, to be honest, and I'd learned a lot about macros and training and all that stuff, and then clients started frustrating me. It was like I was talking to a brick wall in one ear and out the other. And I just wanted to start learning, like, why was it that some clients did what I told them to do and others just totally ignored me, even though they were all paying me money and it was like they seemed to want to do it. And you know, I didn't know quite at the time, just started reading about like how could I create better aims for my clients? How could I track them better? How could I get in their heads a bit? And I guess that was the first start of understanding that there is a different, what I now see as a different world when you're getting clients' results. Because at the time it was always just like learn more about macros, learn more about, I got quite into like functional, when I say functional training, I mean like prehab, rehab stuff, spent a lot of money learning that stuff. And yeah, I learned more and more and more and more. And yet some clients I just knew, or sometimes I didn't know because they were lying to me, that they just were still eating donuts. And it was like, I'm learning all this complicated stuff, but this isn't helpful. So it's kind of my first insight into coaching and what now I consider behaviour change. I was a reasonably successful personal trainer. I got really good results. I made quite a lot of money and had some cool clients and all that stuff. And then I got well known for going online. I started working with brides specifically. And what I realised as soon as I stepped online and out of the gym, I realised two things. Number one, that a lot of people that were around me were struggling to get results, and the results their clients were getting were being compromised. So they got results with clients in the gym, but then they went online and they just didn't know because the clients ghosted them. I don't know, you know, you're not there to check in with them in the gym and find out what's going on. So I realised that, and the other thing I realised is a different skill set. And I went straight into the more of the high value, high ticket stuff. So a lot of what we're going to talk about is that specifically, not necessarily lower end stuff, although you could probably systemize this as well if you chose to. It's not as powerful, but, and I just realized there was a different skill set. And I realized at that point, the stuff I'd learned about behavior change and habit-based change was making me a much better online coach than most people. So I realized that out of the, you know, mindset, habits, exercise, I guess nutrition, lifestyle, the training became less important, and all of the rest of it really became a lot more important. So I realized that transition from being a personal trainer to being a transformation coach, and certainly part of it being online, that's kind of where I got fascinated. So I used to do a lot of more marketing and sales stuff with Fit Pros, and now we founded something called the Institute of Fitness Behaviour Change, which is more about educating personal trainers about the fact that there is more to learn, which, as I said, if I take it back to how I sort of said I just got bored out of my mind, I was just bored. I was bored of being a personal trainer. It was boring. It didn't interest me. It was like I didn't mean to do it. I remember once I got a client literally turned around to me and goes, "Have you got somewhere to be?" Like literally 5 minutes into their session, I was looking at the clock already. And I was like, this is not good. And it's like
a bit of Groundhog Day, isn't it? I think when you're not coaching.
And I've always been quite curious, and I've always wanted to learn, and I've always wanted to understand people. And I think when I got into coaching, again, it was as much for me just being interested in it, my ego liking to be paid well because I was better than other people at actually getting the results, and an intellectual curiosity of this is a career. Like there's a career in this, being a coach. Not that personal training isn't, by the way, but I think for some people, and certainly for me, it's all great when you're in your 20s, but you know, how many years do you want to be, what is it, the 40-year-old personal trainer?
Yeah,
no offense.
It takes its toll. I know a few, and it definitely takes its toll.
Groundhog Day, man. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I'm not going to go on a bit more, but yeah, that's what we got here.
Awesome, happy days. And so we're obviously talking a bit about what you're kind of doing now with the Institute of Behavioural Change, which if anyone's interested, there's a link in the, which I will pick up there in the comments about joining this group, because what goes on there is incredible. Like some of the kind of, not just I really honestly, like Tim, it's amazing what some of the people are going through there, the changes that you can see trainers and coaches going through, and what they're learning, and how they're actually applying that to their clients and their business, and the results they're getting, you know, with their clients and within their sales and within their business is pretty incredible over such quite a short period of time. You know, realistically, it's pretty cool what you and Phil, so they won't talk about Phil, but what you and Phil are up to in there is pretty cool, so what we're talking about today then, what's the
look, I think what I realized is that, look, I think first of all, like the definition, I'm not going to be an arse about this. I actually went and I've done it was a life coaching and personal coaching diploma. So like postgraduate level, master's level coaching. And their coaches are douchebags sometimes. And it was just like this discussion for half a morning about what the definition of coaching is. And they just get so into themselves. So I don't want to go down that route, but it's like, what even is coaching? And I think that there's a misconception, because people use online coaching, online training as like the same thing. Yeah. And I would say they're not. They're different things. So if people interchange those words, and I'm trying not to be a douchebag, all right? But it's like they are very different things. So as a personal trainer, you're a trainer. Mm-hmm. Trainers do certain things, coaches do others. Mm-hmm. So then when you step online, it's like online personal training, online coaching. Mm-hmm. And so we understand like what is coaching. And again, without being a dick, I used to be into strength and conditioning, for instance. And it's like, I'm a strength and conditioning coach. That's what I wanted to be at one point. So I was good at coaching my clients how to exercise. Mm-hmm. Like I knew how to cue them, I knew the right exercises, which is a really relevant thing to do. But again, I think there's a misconception there about like coaching is not that when you're talking about online coaching. Mm. Coaching online is more, you're probably thinking more Tony Robbins, more behavioral change, more of the mindset stuff. Again, like me and Phil, that's kind of what we started 8 years ago. We were just fascinated together in that journey of learning about this stuff. So we've done a lot of study outside the fitness industry. People like DeMartini, Tony Robbins, a lot of books I'm reading at the moment, which are even getting into kind of quite spiritual behavior change, I guess you could call it. And what we've tried to do, and I think we're doing pretty well, is take all these things from people who understand change. And how can we take some stuff that we learned from DeMartini, who's you probably call him a life coach, personal development. How can we take that and bring it into the actual personal training industry and say, yeah, because you couldn't match it exactly, because you need to change things to understand that we're working to get people to lose weight. Mm. So that was kind of like the whole aim of what we're doing there, and marrying it into what you can go and do with your clients. So coaching is about understanding that probably the biggest limitation your clients are ever going to have is like what goes on here, the mindset. Mm. The macros and all that stuff, they are important, but they're not that important. Like I said to you before, like I think that when we wrote our first book, we there was 5 main things. It was like nutrition, training, lifestyle factor, mindset or motivation. It's kind of / and then habits. And what you do cover when you're a personal trainer is it's mostly the training. So when you go online as a online coach, that is important, don't get me wrong, but it becomes less important. Mm. And so that's why you can get results with clients online when you're not standing next to them in the gym, because you give them the basics. Like I see it in this group a lot. And by the way, I would have been in the same place before. It's like worrying about whether a client does 8 reps or 10 reps or a pyramid set or something like that. And my question is always to people is like, is the fact that your client is going to go and do 8 reps as opposed to 6, is that why they're overweight? And obviously the answer is no. It's not the fact that they do 12 reps instead of 10, or they do 4 sets instead of 3, or even they do, I don't know, a lunge or a squat. There's a big difference when you're in a gym, and I want to get my clients squatting. But online, it's not that important, because what you are covering is the other 4. That's the big shift. So understanding what coaching is. So that's the first thing. And then it's like, well, I wouldn't even know where to start with this stuff. When I went online, this is how it went. Paid someone $5,000 to tell me how to sell and market. English. So what was that? About $7,000 at the time.
Yeah, probably $7,000. Yeah.
And it was like, right, here's how to sell this shit. You're a high ticket online coach. And I was like, I can be that. I'm good at that. I can sell. I learned to sell pretty well. And I went, and I remember the first time someone gave me, it was only 1,200 quid, but it was 1,200 quid for a 12-week program. And I was like, shit, like, what now? I was like, I kind of knew, but I didn't have any structure. So what we're trying to do today on here is just give people some practice. So one simple thing that you can go and do with some of your current clients to practice this stuff, because I think it's a bit like when I did, what's the American, is it NASM or ACM? Yeah, and I did Premier over here. And I remember when you learned to be a personal trainer, they taught you some stuff, and then they said, right, buddy up with people and do like, the eventual aim was to go and do a 45-minute workout with someone that you brought in. So you had to design the workout, you had to take them through while you're watching all that. But the first thing that they did is, right, go and do it with someone and do like one exercise, teach them to deadlift. So you just did that, and you kind of, it was like the digression, you broke it down. So what I want to do today is just give everyone a tool that they can go and use with their clients that is just one exercise. It takes you 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes to do it, the client, but it's like, okay, now I can see that hopefully that this is quite powerful for my clients. Your clients will enjoy doing this, by the way. You'll look like you're a good person. Depend on where you are as well. One of the things we do in the free challenge is just help people see that I think they overcomplicate what they think online coaching is. Really, I say a hybrid is basically you just do a coaching call every week with them. Everything else stays the same. You don't need to change anything in your week apart from do a coaching call. And it's like, well, I don't even know what a coaching call would look like. What do I do? So this is the first practice. You don't need to do it on Skype. You don't need to, you don't need to go and sit in somewhere with your clients. Just do it at the end of the session, just to get practice on doing it. And I think most people in the challenge that we've done, we've run it twice now, they've been surprised how effective it is. And it's been a big, it's like a first taster, I guess you could call it.
Cool. I've seen this actually. I mean, I've not actually used this exact system. I've used similar things before in the past, but I saw the scorecard that you sent through for this thing we're doing today, and I love the simplicity of it as well. It just looks so simple to implement and use, and I think a really powerful tool for something that basically fits on A4 piece of paper to work off. It's an incredible tool. So yeah, I'm excited to hear what you got to say about it. Yeah,
I mean, so look, I'll give you there's just a couple of things I want to go first. Just some principles of coaching. Like number one is like they say questions are the answers. So the whole point of when you're a coach with someone is that you work together to create the plan for them, and you work together. You're not just telling people stuff. You work with them so they create the plan with you. The reason that you do that is because people are way more likely to do what they say than what you say, which sounds strange when I was a personal trainer. So if you don't believe me, it's like, how many times do you tell your clients and how many times they for you?
When you get when someone's involved in the decision-making part of that process, they have ownership, and when you have ownership, you're more likely to follow through.
So I studied management at my degree, and they would say if you went into a company, Marks and Spencer is a good example. If you're British, you can't change culture by telling people things, because they'll fight back against it. Whereas if you go into a company and you want to change culture, the way that you do it is that you ask the people there, how can we work together to change this? And everyone would kind of know that's how to do it. Because culture it's a behaviour change situation again. It's kind of what I said about taking this stuff from outside the industry. And these people are the masters at change. So we can learn something from there. So when you get someone else involved in their plan and their solution, they're much more likely to do it. Plus, they know the answers more than you do, which again is such a huge shift to make, because as a personal trainer, we're paid to know complicated stuff. That's not your job as a coach. Your job as a coach is to just ask them, what do you think we could do? So it simplifies it. So if you understand, like, coaching is about asking questions, getting them to create the plan with you, they'll take ownership and they're much more likely to go and do it. Phil always says, which I thought was awesome, is like, it's much better to be effective than right, which is a thing that all fit pros who want to go into coaching and be more of a transformation coach should know. Because you might know more stuff than them, and you do, of course you do, but it doesn't mean it's going to help them. So
no. It's all about getting them to where they want to be in their end result. How you particularly get them there doesn't really matter too much.
And again, we need to somewhat park our egos, and we don't know that, because we've learned so much that we want to impress people with our knowledge. It's like, that's not important, right? So those are the kind of principles that this is based around coaching. And I actually came up with this partly because I remember studying something called a Kaplan scorecard, and the idea of it was that, I think it was about in the 90s, like, everything was based around whether a company was doing well or not, was just based around profit. And in the 90s, it went through quite a big thing about, like, why is a company worth a lot when, say, its staff are happy? Why is a company worth a lot when they have great brand awareness, or there's their partners and their suppliers? So what this company did is, it's like, this is a way of checking a company out, and it was more balanced. So it didn't just look at one thing, it looked at like 7. So it's kind of based on that. There's a couple of things. Can I share?
Yeah, of course you can. You can either do it by pressing the little green button at the bottom. So if I hover over the screen.
Got a copy?
What, the actual scorecard?
Yeah.
I've got the scorecard, yeah, I can bring it up. You want to bring it up?
Yeah, can you do that?
Yeah, sure I can do that. There we go. It's on your Dropbox. Can you all see that?
Yeah. Oh, what's that?
That's what I've got.
What have we got?
That's a scorecard.
Oh, there you go.
You see it?
Yeah. So what we're trying to do, and there are some reasons for this, by the way. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go over the principles of this, and then I'm going to tell everyone how to go and do this. So you can use this, but it's like, how do I go and do it? Not only how do I go and do it, how do I even get my client to want to do it? Because sometimes it's like, oh, they might not want to do it. Do they not just want to train? No, is the answer. And it's about how you ask. So the reason we want to do this is a few reasons. Number one, it's we look at, and I created this for this reason exactly. When we start trying to help clients sometimes a bit more as a coach, they can feel like we're judging them, because while we don't mean to, all of our clients, and I didn't know this, they feel bad because they're not doing what we've asked them to do, but they don't know how to verbalize that, and they don't know how to have that conversation. They don't do what you say, but they just don't know how to say, look, I've never done what you said. I've been eating donuts all the time, because we're getting this little sort of tacit agreement that no one's going to ever say anything. And they'll be with you for 5 years, by the way, and still pay you money and
still eat donuts.
Yeah. And they're just like, and it's not cool. It's not good. It's not what I wanted to, why I was in it. So part of this is about the understanding that we start on things that are good. So you start that conversation with going over the things that they've achieved that have done well, as opposed to straight to what isn't working, because then it's like, oh my God, he hates me and he thinks I'm a terrible person and all that stuff. So we kind of look at what things are good now. It's also called a feedback loop, which when you help clients see the things that they've achieved already, it makes them go. It's like, if you're, as a fit pro, if you're doing your own training and your own transformation, you're trying to get lean, like, you start doing it and then you jump on the scales, or you do body fat in like 2 weeks, and it tells you that you're doing well. And you're like, that's when you start really fucking like feeling motivated. So as a feedback loop, they start to go, oh, okay, look, I am doing better than I thought. And they might think it, but having it written down is really powerful. The other thing this does, by the way, is that they'll tell you things that they didn't know. They'll confirm to themselves why all the money they've spent with you is good. They'll also confirm to you, which they wouldn't have known sometimes, this is like unknown unknowns, of actually what your stuff has benefited, how your stuff has benefited them outside of the gym. So we start with there. If you see, like, where would you rate yourself when we started? So you get them to say 1 to 10. Where would you rate yourself now? So if someone's been with you for 6 months or 3 months, and by the way, let's just say at some point they're like, oh, you know, they're thinking that it's expensive, right? Maybe they think that. It's like, we want them to see that what they've done is good. And so it means they want to do more. So we start with things that are more obvious: strength, flexibility, fitness, confidence in the gym. And then at that point, you're now starting to leverage it outside of the gym and things they might not have known. So it's good for your business as well, by the way, because they'll realize. So if you look at that, we move into confidence outside the gym, general self-confidence. A lot of the time, the feedback I've been getting from the PTs that have done this is like, I didn't even realize that. Oh, you know what? Because if you scroll down, Ash.
Oh, there we go. Let's clear that off. Scroll down. Hang on a second.
Sorry. I don't know why I'm not doing this.
There we go.
So you basically, they're the questions that you do afterwards, which is, which are you most pleased with? Which are you most surprised with? Which one? And so that's the one that looks over what's happened so far. So often they're like, so you scroll back up, they're like, which one are you most surprised with? They're like, oh, I didn't realize my confidence out of the gym. Or I didn't realize my energy levels were better. So this, again, it's good for them because they're confirming to themselves all the work you've done is positive, but fundamentally it makes them feel good about themselves. So we've got them in a really nice place where they're like, oh, I feel good, I'm happy about, yeah, this was cool. So where were you when you started and where were you now? By the way, anyone who's got some smart people might be going, could I do this when they start? And the answer is yes, you could. You could do this when they start. Where would you rate yourself now? You'd have to change some of the questions, but you could do it when they first start. This could be part of an onboarding process. And if you are automating it, you could automate something like this with some video.
Yeah, we do. So I've done a similar thing to this, which for onboarding, with a little video that takes people through it. For a few of my clients before. That does work really well.
And what you do is you just come back in, say, a month or 3 months, and then you get them to do it again, and they're just selling themselves into how good your stuff was. And again, if you think about what I said about that balanced scorecard about the companies, they're not just using like one thing, which I believe in, by the way. I do believe in measuring body composition change, but there are other things that end up being more important or as important to people. So if you scroll down, so by the way, just so this is clear, you would do this with a client. So you have this printed out and you do it with a client in the gym. I'm going to tell you how to do that as well, how you get them to do it with you, basically. So it then starts going to, which one would you like to work on going forward? Which, now you've looked at the things that they've done, which is what they've achieved. They feel good. They feel happy. They don't feel like they've been told off. And then it's like, a very simple coaching model is, where are you now? Where do you want to be? And what stops you? So where are you now? Where do you want to be? And what stops you? So which one would you like to work on going forwards? Which is almost where you are now, because the one that they're not happy with is the one that they'll want to work on. Then, why do you feel this one? What do you feel is the biggest hurdle that you need to overcome to improve this? What do you feel is the one biggest hurdle you need to overcome to improve this? So where are they now? Where do they want to be? And it's like, what's the problem? So the reason that you're asking them this, why do you think, Ash?
The reason, because if you ask them what they believe is the most important thing they need to overcome, that again makes them part of that process, that decision-making process. And I think when they do that, it allows them to realize where their kind of barrier is, if you like, that's stopping them, and they can start addressing that themselves. I think once someone actually addresses those barriers themselves, it's so much easier for them to break it down and have this kind of like light bulb moment where they go, oh, actually, I can do this. And then it kind of leads on nicely to the next one, where you can start talking about how they believe they can get over that barrier. And then when they start doing that, they realize, generally speaking, it's simpler than what they think. And then they become like a part of that process themselves. And it makes it a lot more easier for them to stick to it, become more accountable, and adhere to whatever those changes are. That's what I used to do it for anyway.
Yeah, nice. And the one thing that I'd add on to that is the idea of like your client's ego. So ego doesn't necessarily mean what people always think it means, but it's just part of our brain that wants to make. Personal trainers would often say make excuses. It's like, it's not as simple as making excuses. So one of the things that might happen here is, and this is probably the most common, I'm busy. And I'll see personal trainers write this on their marketing a lot. You're not busy, it's just not a priority. I'm just like...
That's how to piss somebody off, isn't it?
That's really how to get someone on board. It's like no empathy at all. Now, look, again, it's better to be effective than right. Yes, you telling them get up 5 minutes earlier is all good, but they don't do it, well, it's not helping anyone. So when you ask them, they start to, it diverts around their defensiveness, their ego. So let's just say that you knew that they were just not getting up early and you just end up in an argument with someone. Like, just get up earlier. And they make a bullshit excuse. Just wake up earlier to cook your breakfast. I can't. And you're just like, it's like you're arguing with a child, right? And you're never going to win. You are literally never going to win. No. So you're not going to convince them. So let's say that their one that comes out is, I'm too busy. You got choices. You're just like, I totally get how busy you are. Really do. It's like, is that the truth? They think it is. Everyone thinks they're busy, right? So it's like, look, I totally get that. What do you think are the 3 things that we could do together to help you overcome how busy you are? This is where it fucking works its magic. Because now they feel like you're on their side. They start self-selecting. And you'll probably find, by the way, that they would say some stuff which you would like to tell them. And maybe even you've told them 1,000,000 times before, but because they've come to the decision, they think it's their idea and they are okay. People don't like to be told, which is strange because that's our job as personal trainers, but they don't like to be told. So it's like they honestly, clients view us as like, as a teacher. They you know, and I've seen personal trainers like, you know, messaging their clients going, put the beer down or whatever. It's just like, it's a joke, right? But it's not as well. It's like, you can't nanny these people. You can't babysit them. They're adults.
It's not fair on them anyway, I don't think. It doesn't do them any service long term.
And they don't need to do that. Like, so when you get them on board and you're working together, it's so refreshing because the person might turn around and go, well, you know what? I am busy, but like, bang, now everything's changed. It's like, but you know what? I probably could get, you know what? In fact, and they know the solutions better than we do. So I could probably get up 15 minutes earlier. You know, okay, go on. And I could, yeah, and the other thing that I could do is I'd probably get my stuff ready the night before because I always know that really helps. Okay, cool. What else? Well, maybe I could go and do a session on Saturday morning because, okay, go on, tell me some more. So by just asking them, they'll come up with the solutions. Now, that at this point is like 7-8 minutes, and that's it.
I'll tell you what I'll do just quickly, like you kind of mentioned this at the start about how this process works better without having to automate it. And I think what you said there is exactly why it works better without having to automate it. Just because you can have that conversation about those 3 things that they do. But if you was to get them to write stuff down sometimes, like a lot of people do, they won't really have that conversation with you. You can't really kind of dig deeper with it. I think. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I lost you there for a second.
Yeah, go on. You were saying?
So I was just saying how I think that process there you mentioned, it shows exactly why it's important sometimes to have this as a conversation with that client more than trying to automate this entire process. Because sometimes you could ask these questions simply on the phone, but you wouldn't really get into that kind of detail. And I think being able to like kind of answer a question with a question and dig a bit deeper is where the important thing comes from. You can't really do that from an automation level.
So look, it goes to a bigger point, and then I'm going to go over one of the next things that I was going to talk about this. Coaching is a 2-way conversation. Say if you write a book is a 1-way conversation. Someone reads your book. So I've written 2. You can, with experience and skill and a lot of knowledge and a lot of practice, you can make it in some way a two-way conversation if you know your clients well enough. So when I create content, I know how to overcome a lot of the objections that are probably going to be going on, or the things that are going to come up. But that's because I've worked with my clients for 4 or 5 years. So in essence, it's just a much bigger thing. Someone posted, I don't know if it was in your group or my group, saying, you know, can you do high ticket without any interaction with your client? No. So like, let's say high value. No. Like I wouldn't, because I mean, I could probably sell it, but
it's what you feel good about selling.
Like the whole thing, isn't it? Coaching is a two-way conversation. That's why I like it over the low ticket stuff, because I'll just charge a damn sight lot more, and I actually think it's what gets people results. So if we go to what you said, you could easily go through all these questions and just ask them, and you can get the person to write them down, or you can just write the answers down. I personally would give them the form and talk them through it, give them a pen. And you could just go through those questions and they'll give you the first answer that comes to their mind, and then it takes you 2 minutes. Or you want to ask questions which dig deeper. This is where coaching really starts to have an effect. It's when you get your clients and they kind of look, and it's at this moment when they go, like they'll literally go, I didn't realize that. It's like, we call them breakthrough moments. We call them aha moments. My coach used to call them braingasms. It's like this moment where they have a shift and you're like, oh, I didn't think about it like that. Or something happens and they stop and they're like, oh, yeah. So of all of those questions, when someone writes something down, what are you most surprised about? I'm most surprised about fitness. Go on. There's 3 ways that I would tackle that, or 3 ways that I would make that deeper. I'd say go on and then shut up. I'd go, okay, as in the tone, okay, you know, how do you feel about that? And then for some of the bottom ones, and this is something that this is where you get a bit more powerful with coaching. How does it feel saying that to me? Now, I wouldn't just go, you know, which one are you both surprised about? Oh, the fitness. How does it feel saying that to me? That would sound strange. But when someone sits there and they start telling me, you know what, I feel like a different person. Like you say, go on. Which one surprises me most? Confidence outside the gym. Go on. That is a verbal cue for them to talk. And people want to talk, by the way. They like to talk. One of the skills, I think my superpower as a coach is I'm really good at listening, incredibly good at listening, partly because I've just practiced it so much. So people tell me things like that they don't tell anyone else. And it might not seem how important that is, but when a client can be honest with you and they feel like they can tell you stuff that they've not told anyone, and they will, by the way, they will open up. It makes you much more persuasive, much more charismatic, much more influential. People see, they recognize that I think there's something about like the best way to create rapport with someone is to help them see something about themselves that they didn't know before. So these are the kind of conversations you can have with clients. You can just start it here. So it might not happen, by the way, straight away with this. I'd say, let's say you did this with 5 clients. One might just be like, don't get it, you know. Another one might be, because is there another page? Ash, scroll down.
I've just got one on this one.
Okay, all right.
You can share yours if you've got extra pages on it. You can share.
No, I'll go for it. But some clients might be like, yeah, it's fine. Other clients might be like much more open. Jack put some stuff. He did our first challenge, and
good lad, Jack.
Yeah, he loves what we've done, man.
Yeah.
And he was just like, oh my God. He goes, I knew that what you were saying made sense. He goes, man, the fucking pennies dropped. Because his client just opened up and started telling him stuff that they've never told him before. Truth's on the table now. They'll be honest with you. They'll be like, you know what, to be honest, I've really struggled and I've not really done anything you've told me to do. It's a good place to start because they're being honest with you and themselves. So let's say they start talking about, and I'm going to go a bit deeper. This might not happen. happen, by the way, but it might if you feel like you want it to. It's like, I just feel much more confident. Go on. And then the energy changes. And they're like, you know what? I've really been struggling with just how I feel about myself. Now, at this point, what can happen is personal trainers don't want to know this. And they don't want to listen. They avoid this level of connection. But if you want to be a really good online coach, you need to be okay with this, and more than okay, because it creates a massive amount of connection and a dramatic change in mindset. And it's like, go on. And they're like, you know what, to be honest, I've just felt really low. Okay. Which is like, means keep talking. I'm giving them permission to keep talking, and they'll keep talking. And then how's it feel when they're talking about how they used to feel about themselves before your training? And if people think that this isn't the truth, you would be surprised how many clients feel like this from what they've done with you, but they've never told you because they wouldn't know how to. And then you start opening these doors and you'll walk away from this going, oh my God, I never realized that what I've done affected them that much. And they'll realize, and going forward, it will be a lot better relationship. So don't avoid them opening up, like facilitate that. Like I do lots of personal coaching as well as kind of another program that I do. So it's personal development, but fitness is one of the 4 pillars. A lot of my clients, and these are guys, by the way, they'll burst into tears. They'll say things to me that they've never said to anyone else ever. And they'll tell me some dark stuff. They'll tell me things that they've not ever said to anyone. That's a couple of steps ahead of where most people are, but it's the ability to allow someone to speak, and by listening as well. So if you really want to get good at this or get good at coaching, be mindful how much of the time you're speaking and how much of the time they're speaking. This is not about you trying to find solutions. This is about you listening and sitting on it. I'd even go as far as resisting giving solutions, like really resist it. Hold yourself from doing it because you'll want to tell them, don't do it. You don't need to. And then one of the most powerful questions you can say is like, when someone says something to you quite profound, you ask them, how does it feel saying that to me? And often that's when you get this like, they're like, oh my God. We talk about something called self-image, which is basically how people perceive themselves. One of the fundamental things that you can do as a coach, or you should be aware of, is that changing a client's self-image will mean that this stuff will stick. So they have a self-image that they are fat, overweight, a loser, failures, all of this stuff. And if you can help them change the negative self-talk into positive self-talk, that will stick. That will stick. That's kind of what most fit pros want. They want their clients to lose weight and keep it off. So it's almost like they're playing at being fit. Whereas with some of that ability to coach someone and go a little bit deeper, you can start to actually help them. Because when someone goes and they're kind to themselves for the first time ever, it's like, how does that make you feel saying that to me? And they're like, and they'll be emotional, by the way. So be aware of that. And it's okay. And it's totally normal. Like, this is safe for the fit pros to do, by the way, because you're in a gym. I mean, there's probably a limit of what someone's going to say to you. Like, you know, I'm pretty good at this, so I kind of know how to do it, and it's my job. But when I first started, I might have felt a bit uncomfortable if it was too deep. So, you know, this is a kind of safe 7-8 minutes. But the aim is that you want them to say something a bit deeper. I think the last thing that I was going to go over was, I don't know if there's any questions, Ash. The last thing I was going to go over is how do you get, and so we've gone over like what it is and how to do it. Last thing on how to do it. Don't think that there needs to be an outcome. So I said, if you've got, say, 5 people that you do this, one will get it, will love it. One will be like, eh. You'll ask them at the end, how was that? And they'll go, yeah. Some of them won't get it. Some of them will be in the middle. Some of them will just be like, oh my God, how can we do more of this? And they might even email you or come back to you the next week and go, oh my God, that was amazing. So don't judge yourself, the process, the outcome. it is what it is. It's okay, whatever ever happens. You're not trying to do anything specifically. So the last thing is about how to get a client to do this. At the end of the session, you want to do it. When they walk through the door at the beginning of your session, ask them then, not at the end. Because at the end, they'll be tired, they'll be rushed, and they'll be like, oh, you know, and you'll go, can I do this thing? And they'll go, oh, I'm busy. And you'll be like, oh, and all timid. So when they walk through the door, hey, listen. So this is how I'd ask. Say, hey, listen, I'm doing this thing. And you could even say it like people like to have a reason for something. So you say, I'm doing this thing with a guy that I saw some stuff online. And he's challenged me or challenged us to do a motivation and goal setting document with some of our clients. He said that it really helped people feel good about what they're doing and just look at setting some goals. And then I might go, don't wait. You're not going to get in trouble. Ha ha, joke. Because again, clients think that you're going to judge them because they already feel judged. I'd say, look, it's just going to, and this is where I'd tell them, we're just going to do 5 minutes at the end. And we're just going to go through this diary, this process. That cool? Don't worry, it'll only take 5 minutes. That cool? And my tone when I say that cool is a question, but I'm telling them. So I'd be like, that cool? And it's like, that means it is cool. And they'll go, yeah, totally, of course. Now, some trainers might be like, oh, like they pay for my training and stuff. If you want and you've not got a client afterwards, just let them have an extra, do it at the end for an extra 5 minutes. But to be honest, this would be way more worthwhile to do this for you and for them than a 7 minute. I remember, I don't know if it was just me, I'd be like, shit, I've got 10 minutes left. But abs or like, rower.
Let's go to do something. Run up and down the stairs.
Run up and down the stairs. Burpees. But their program is over. They're done. So just fit it in. And so then when it comes to the end, they won't just escape and run off because people they're busy. They say they are, but they're not, you know. Yeah. So ask before, and at the end, just sort of the ethos is more important. It's like, again, I'd be like, look, don't worry, you're not in trouble. Ha. Don't worry, I'm not going to tell you off. Look, this is actually something that's really cool. Oh, they feel good. It's only going to take 10 minutes. Look, in fact, it's just 5 questions. That cool? Yeah, awesome. And then just allow them some space in there. If you want to push this, use those questions like, go on. Okay. Like, you can say things like, if they start to go a bit deeper and you feel the tone change with what they're saying, the subject, like, how do you feel about that one? And then again, it's my tone which drives this. So how do you feel? How does that make you feel? So it's much softer. And then it'd be like, how does it feel saying that to me? And then these that would just take it to a little bit more depth. And listen. Listen to what they're saying. Don't, have you seen, what was it? Why Men Can't Jump?
Yeah. Classic.
any man out there, by the way. Who did I see the other? Oh, I think it was Ben Shapiro, or maybe it was Jordan Peterson. I can't remember. No, it was Ben Shapiro, and he's like, obviously with dudes, and he's like, so my wife would come up to me and she'd start saying stuff, and he was joking. He goes, I would actually ask her, is this one of those conversations where you just want to be listened to, or you want me to tell you a solution? And I think he was joking. And it's like, in White Men Can't Jump, she moans about being hot. And so he gets up to go and try and get her some ice. And she goes mental. And as a man, when a woman tells you that she's thirsty, we want to go and fix the problem. A woman actually just wants to tell you and for you to understand and empathize. So this is one of the times when we're going to be in our feminine energy, which is we're going to empathize, we're going to understand. We're not going to jump to solve, solution. Really, like, practice not doing that.
That's cool. That's so cool. I think we've talked about it a few times, but this kind of like listening and not wanting to feel like you need to solve something for somebody is such a underrated skill across lots of coaches, and some of it I think should be practiced a lot more. We should maybe do something on that. Maybe, I don't know, like a session on how to like.
There's a few things like I teach a lot of this in the more sort of upper level stuff that I do, and I teach I teach relationship advice a bit as well with some of the guys. It depends what they want to do in the personal development stuff. And as a man, and by the way, a lot of women will be like this as well. And because their personal training is like just fix. Like, I'm going to tell. A lot of these are more masculine energy kind of things. What we need to be in is the more feminine energy type stuff. Listening, empathy, space, understanding, connection with emotion. And again, a lot of these things are quite hard because they're quite vulnerable. So as a fit pro, that's all we're taught. Ask them some stuff and then tell them the solution. And it's just not what a coach does. If you're a guy and you want to have a better relationship, just listen to what's just been said. Listen back to the last 5 minutes. And I can promise you now, it will make your relationships better because they don't want you to fix it. In fact, that's probably the worst thing that you could possibly do sometimes. People just want to be listened to. And when you listen to people, you become much, much more persuasive and influential and all of this stuff, which, by the way, is important as a coach. Ash, I think we've done all right. So is there any questions?
Not really, other than like where they can download this from, which is pretty simple. There's a link.
Yeah, there's a link there.
And they can click it. There's also something to think about. It's because you've got another one of these challenges. You mentioned the challenge a bit earlier on.
Yeah.
That's starting again Sunday.
So we're starting again Sunday. It's the client compliance coaching clinic. So basically an opportunity to do a bit more practice. So this is the first thing that we get everyone to do. So we'll give you a little bit more help and a bit more feedback, and you can come and post what's happened in the group, and then we'll talk about what your experience was. And then the aim is that we can get you to practice with a current client your first proper coaching session outside of the gym. So you talk to some of your clients, and basically you don't charge them or anything, but you take them away, you go into, say, a coffee shop locally or whatever, and you just spend half an hour. By the way, I give you the exact structure of how to do this. There's a 9-box coaching call, I was nearly saying, coaching session structure, and it tells you exactly what to do. So you'll know what to say through that conversation and how to do it. At the end of that time, when you've done that with a client, it's like, well, now I've learned what coaching is, I can do more. Like online coaching, that's what it is. The value is in the coaching call, not in all the other stuff. That's the support. It's also basically, if you wanted to ever do hybrids, if you can learn what gym, coaching, that's what all the hybrid is, the two things, right? So you already know how to do the gym. We'll teach you how to do the other part. And at that point, you can just sell hybrids and you get to support your clients a lot more. So that will be the aim of the challenge. 10-day challenge will take you through how to do it. So there is a link somewhere, I think.
Yeah, I've dropped it in. I'll put like a PS in the comment in the post, but I'll put it in the comments as well, so people can grab it from there. Yeah. For it all. So what they've got to do is click the link, sign up.
Yeah, click the link. You won't get in yet because we're just running the last lot through. You'll get in on Saturday. There's one thing that you have to do. We're going to make sure that people are doing this for the right reason. Like, we're busy, you're busy. So we do ask you to do some tasks. If you don't do them, you're out, but it's not a lot to do. And again, like the experience we've had so far is people are really getting, like they're really getting this and their clients are getting it. And you're like, shit, man, like this is the future. Like, I think this is the future of the industry.
There's some cool stuff happening over the past few challenges, and just with the group in general. Like some really cool kind of, I don't know, shifts. I think might be the right way to put it. Just like big shifts, which is cool.
I hate the word, but yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of any way to describe it. That's no way to do it. Cool. I'm aware, obviously, you've got cool. Funny enough, in the next few minutes.
My mentorships, yeah.
Your mentorships, yeah. So I'll let you go. But cheers so much for joining us again on this and going for that train. That's been awesome.
Awesome.
I'll keep all the recordings in the group so you can see it. And yeah.
If there's any questions, just put them in there and we can answer them later. All right.
Cool. Awesome. Cheers, mate. No worries. See you later, Tim. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.